Hello and welcome to Louise Singleton Creations. In one of my recent videos I made this lovely piece of window art using extra thick epoxy resin and a vinyl decal on a piece of acrylic sheet, and it worked really well. The only problem with it was because it was epoxy resin, I had to be very careful with what I was doing and wait for it to set. And then JDiction sent me some of their new UV resin, which is a very thick one. It's a high viscosity UV resin that they've just released. And I thought, hang on a minute, I can do the same kind of thing again with UV resin and keep putting it under the lamp as I go along, and it's curing in 2 minutes instead of 4 hours. And so today you're going to see me try the same method again, but I never do the same thing twice, so I'm doing a different project, and this time it's going to be a lamp. So if that sounds interesting, stay tuned and enjoy the video. Here are the 4 new UV resins which JDiction sent me, and are lucky. We've got the high viscosity, which is thicker and slow flowing. The low viscosity, which is thinner and fast flowing, so it's very clear. The eco resin and the classic UV resin. So the resin I'm using today is the high viscosity resin, and the reason I chose that one is because it's slow moving and thick, and it's ideal for doming or top coating. And the project I'm doing today requires the resin to stay in position and not move anywhere, so this is perfect. The box comes with 3 bottles, and for today's project I actually only used about half a bottle, I would say. It's hard to tell because they're black, you can't see through them, but it feels after finishing the project that there's still at least half a bottle left, so it's really good. You get lots and lots. It comes with a detailed instruction manual, which is very useful, especially if you're new to using UV curing resin. And it also comes with precision nozzles for the end, so it makes it nice and easy to control what you're doing. To colour my UV resin, I'm using JDiction's Mica Powders in blues and purples and pink. When using mica powders or any pigment with UV resin, it's important not to put too much colour in if you're going to be making your resin layer quite thick, because the light, when you're curing it, will have difficulty getting all the way through. But because I'm just doing a very thin layer, I did get away with putting quite a lot of pigment in. And what you can do when you've cured the top under the UV lamp, you can turn it over and cure it from the other side just to make sure it's cured all the way through. So you're going to be seeing me applying this resin to just one piece, but in actual fact I did 5 pieces, and so that's why I've got that much resin in the pot. I did use it all because off camera, after the one you see, I did another 4 pieces before changing colour. So I'm just mixing it in really well in my little silicone pot, and then I'll be ready for the first step. So this is what I'm going to be applying the UV resin onto. It's a 2mm thick piece of acrylic sheet which I've cut to the shape of the vinyl decal which I stuck on top of it. And although that vinyl is very thin, it actually works really well at keeping the resin into the middle rather than going over the edge of the vinyl. It doesn't need to be thick when you're using this high viscosity UV resin. It's really good. So the way that I found works best is to use my little scooping tool. It's like a metal tool that I found works really well. And just plonk a little bit, do you like my technical language? Plonk a little bit in the middle of the space that you want to fill. And then use another tool like a cocktail stick, or what I've got here is a micro brush, just to move it to the edges really carefully. And that way you can get a much more precise finish to it. It's much better. And once it's all in place, you can put it under your UV lamp for 2 minutes to let it cure and then carry on. That way you're not going to be knocking it or smudging it with your hand. So you might be wondering why I didn't go into much detail about the vinyl decal which I've stuck onto my acrylic sheet. And that's because it's not really a tutorial on how to make the lamp. Today I just wanted to demonstrate how great this high viscosity UV resin is for doming compared to the way I did it in the last video. I will be showing you how I made the lamp, but not in the way I normally would. It's not going to be a detailed tutorial. These decals, I made them in the design space, in the Cricut design space. They're not something you can just download as they are. So yeah, it would have been quite in-depth if I'd have tried teaching you how to do the whole process. Yeah. And putting the lamp together was actually trickier than I thought, but hopefully you'll enjoy watching me do it anyway. So the video is going to go into super speedy motion in a moment. That's because it did take quite a while to do all the different colours in there, but it was a lot of fun. I don't mind things taking a long time. You'll have probably heard me say that before, because it's true. I love to just sit there and relax and just do things that are a little bit, fiddly and time consuming like this. I just really enjoy it. It's very therapeutic. So the next colour I used was purple, then lilac, then the light pink, all from the JDiction Pigment Set. One thing I did forget to say, which is quite important, especially if your room is very sunny, is close the curtains or the blinds and work under artificial light to do this, because otherwise the sunshine will start to cure the resin before you're ready to be curing it. Yeah, I've found out the hard way. Okay, so there's the 5 top pieces all completed, and they're going to all fit together soon. I do need to make the bottom pieces first, and let's just have a look. Do you see what I mean about the doming and those undulations that you get? You just want to run your finger along it to feel it. It's very touchy-feely. I love the finished result of those. So right, let's move on to the next part. I won't take very long on this because it's exactly the same process again, but this time I used the bright pink, which I really love. It did look good when it was finished, and I've got a different shape this time. I've got the pentagon, and these will all fit together to form the bottom of the lamp. And yeah, it's a bit more fiddly. I think that's probably why I chose to demonstrate more with the bigger one. To make life easier for myself, but from a different angle you can get more of a close-up to see exactly what I'm doing. One thing I love about JDiction is they're always coming up with new resins and new products to meet the needs of the consumer. They really do have the finger on the pulse, and they listen to the customers, and they're interested in what we want, and they provide. So yeah, I love JDiction, and they're so friendly and helpful when you contact them as well. I would definitely recommend them. In fact, in my comments, whenever I do videos with JDiction products, people are always saying JDiction's resins are the only resins I ever use. So yeah, the customers are very faithful, and that just tells you how good the brand is, doesn't it? Okay, let's put these beauties together. Now, as I said before, it's not going to be too long and too involved. I'm going to keep it short because it was very fiddly. This part that you're going to see now was easy. All I did was I stuck them all together on the back with clear sticky tape. And yeah, that was the easiest part. I made sure that the clear tape went all the way along the join because I knew that I was going to be using the UV resin on the other side as a kind of glue to hold them in place, and I didn't want it leaking through. As I'm watching this back and narrating it, I'm looking at it and thinking how much I like it laid flat like that. When they all get pieced together, they look really good, don't they? It would make a good kind of, I don't know, table centerpiece or something. Yeah, it's given me an idea. Once they were all stuck together, I added one last piece of tape and trimmed it and then folded it back on itself so that I could kind of bring it all round into the 3D shape and use that piece of tape to hold the last two pieces together. That was hard to explain. And yeah, sorry, I went out of frame there, but you can see that they're all together now, and that was nice and easy. And if you decide to have a go at this, despite my warnings of telling you how tricky it was, I will kind of recommend that for the next part, you do exactly the same thing again. Don't do what I'm about to show you because I ended up taking it to bits. What I thought I would do was attach each piece directly to the top piece from the inside and do it that way. I thought that would be the easiest way, but it wasn't. What I would say is put all the pentagons together just like you put the top pieces together, and then what I ended up doing was I did that and I attached the top to the bottom with the tape on the outside, which you will see in a second. And I did it all off camera because it was just too fiddly to film and I was starting to tear my hair out. So here we have the top and the bottom all taped together on the outside. Now don't worry about that because the tape will be coming off. What I'm going to do next is use the same UV resin as a glue. I'm going to carefully apply it along the joins and then cure it a little bit at a time. And that way it's a lot easier. I applied the UV resin to all the bits that didn't have tape on, and then I took one piece of tape off at a time and applied the UV resin again until it was all completely stuck together. Another thing I did was I got a black acrylic marker pen and I coloured over all the cured UV resin because I didn't want the light shining through the joins. Now, when I'd finished gluing it all together, I wasn't really happy with it. I've got to be completely honest with you. My application of my UV resin wasn't as neat as it could have been. So I did put it on my cup turner and coat it with resin. I had a little bit of a problem with that as well, because it was late at night by the time it was nearly cured and I didn't want to leave it on all night. And I was so tired. And I turned it off so I could go to bed, and it wasn't quite cured, so it started moving a little bit, and that's why you saw some stretch marks on there. Anyway, all you can see me doing here is I've cut out some pentagons for the base to put my light through, and it's just craft board which I've cut out on my Cricut. I'm gluing them all together, and yeah, and then once they're glued together and clamped and dried, I paint it black, and then that forms the base for me to put my light through. I got my light fitting from Amazon. I think it was for one of those rock salt lamps. I'm not really sure exactly what they are, but it said it was for a rock salt lamp. You might know what they are. The only thing is, I think those kind of lamps are supposed to get hot, and some of those light fittings come with light bulbs, but they're the incandescent light bulbs. If you're going to be using this light fitting, don't use incandescent light bulbs. As I said, they get hot and you don't want your plastic and resin light shade getting hot. Get the LED bulbs for it. Oh, that's my disclaimer so you don't burn your house down. Right, so here I had a moment of just absolute madness. I don't know why I cut that in half. It's the cover for the bottom because I did a slot for the wire in the last two pieces that I added to my base. And then this should have just been one solid piece to add to the bottom to cover up the wire. For some reason I thought it needed to be cut in half. Don't ask me why. But it's a good demonstration to show that we're all human and we all make ridiculous mistakes. So that's the gist of what I did. Like I said, I didn't want to go into too much detail on that. But let's have a look at the lamp finished. Are you ready? Let's have a look. And here it is, and as you can see, the colours do shine onto the wall a little bit. Not as much as I would have liked it to have done, but you do get the effect of the colours shining through if you've got it next to a wall, and I do like that. Yeah, after all the hard work that went into it, I am actually really happy with the result. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And anyway, we've come to the end of the video. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed and you would like to, please do. And I will see you again next time. Take care and bye for now.